This is your girl, Campson the Oracle, and I am a sacred rebel. And I have been receiving downloads for the collective. And if you are listening to me, you have also been called to end generational patterns, to rebel against anything causing oppression and suffering. With the energy that's been coming in, this is going to be a time where we will discover the meaning behind our triggers if we allow ourselves to do so. I was going to do an oracle card reading, and it just felt better for me to allow myself to be free of any logic and reason following any type of program that I've been adhering to, and just allow what needs to come up to come up. So as you can see, there's a lot of information floating around about wars and different ways that power structures are falling. A lot of relationships are changing. I just want to remind you of something, that we have all incarnated into this world for a purpose, and we all desire one thing, and that is to be loved. I don't know any human being who doesn't have the desire to be loved. And as we are delving deeper into learning how to love ourselves, I believe we are the first generation to do this collective shadow work. I also believe that the harmonic convergence in 1987 as the catalyst for this new earth, and many of us who were born within this time period, even back to the Gen X generation, we had to repress a lot of things to get through life. And honestly, a lot of us raised ourselves. We spent a lot of time without adults, and it could have been because they were working, or maybe they were in the military, or maybe they were out of town, or maybe you had parents that liked to party, or maybe your parents spent more time with each other than with you. Whatever the situation was, we grew up in a very narcissistic society. The 3D matrix is parasitic, and it seeks to feed on the life force energy, creates negative scenarios to make sure that the archonic entities, and these are very psychopathic entities, that they're able to feed off of us. Now, a lot of us became victims to our circumstances, and as a kid, how can you avoid that? You know, it's really unavoidable. And so we actually created soul contracts to have those experiences for the purpose of evolution. A lot of us were born into a world, maybe even a family and a system that felt very alien to us. And whether we could put our finger on it or not, we always knew that we were different. And there is this innate fear inside of a lot of us of not being loved, not being accepted as we are. And this created a frequency inside of us based in fear. And we created a false self, which is the avatar of the 3D matrix. The part of us that goes along to get along. The part of us that becomes invisible when we feel threatened. The part of us that inflates our ego when we feel threatened. The part of us that people pleases, hoping that no one would feel like we're a burden to them, hoping that everybody would feel like we are an asset to them. A lot of us did not have the ability to control our environment. We did everything we could to reduce the chaos in our families, our household, classrooms, the school. A lot of us were singled out by teachers. It almost felt like there was this camera always following you, and that there was just this cruel game being played on you. And as children, we are naturally narcissistic, and we do think that everything revolves around us. It's only until we're 7 to 8 years old that we actually create this egoic self that is used to survive. And I feel like with this eclipse, it's calling for us to identify the areas we have used to survive, so that we can begin releasing them and replacing those areas with trust. When we are in survival mode, you are not in a space, a wavelength to trust. Survival mode is, I must do whatever I need to do to save myself. And for those of us who were incarnated as women, this has been a very difficult journey up to this point. See, when you have these types of wounds and you find yourself repeating certain traumas, attracting certain types of people as partners, being attracted to certain types of people and situations, friendships, ways of identifying with yourself, coping mechanisms, all of these things can give a lot of insight into your psychological foundations. And for a lot of women, keeping the peace meant being quiet, not speaking up, not rocking the boat, being as ladylike as possible. And that's a lot of pressure. It's as if we had pressure put on us to suppress our true power. So this one right here is for my sisters who are awakening. I want to talk to you a little bit about the types of energy, relationships, situations, circumstances throughout life we attract when we have these particular wounds. And as I'm sharing this, if you are not a woman, you also have feminine traits within you. There's an inner female within you. And maybe there are females in your life that you care about. This information is very useful to learn how to navigate this new world where energy now speaks louder than actions. For so many of us, I believe Venus in retrograde of 2023 revealed to us areas where we notice difficulties in our relationships. Maybe you sometimes find yourself walking on eggshells. It's not just you. See, the patriarchy was created by the architects of the oppressive 3D matrix construct, and everything, every law, okay, every form of entertainment, capitalism, everything that was created was an extension of male dominance in survival mode, using the ego as the foundation. And so the impact that had on us is now being seen like never before, and it's undeniable. See, a wounded woman will attract a wounded partner. Even if she is already on her journey of spiritually awakening, there's no way around attracting what you are imprinted with and have not yet reprogrammed. So being in a relationship, any relationship that is bonded by trauma, is like living on a battlefield and never getting a break. This has been our life for so many of us. Some people say being around someone that is easily emotionally dysregulated causes you to walk on eggshells. And I believed that for a long time because it was the only way to avoid drama. So I developed a fear of people who could not regulate their emotions. With that fear, I developed a maladaptive strategy for avoiding what that energy creates, which was me becoming a martyr, me being willing to sacrifice myself for the sake of someone else and keeping the peace. And on that battlefield, the heart became guarded, and I didn't know how to trust. So I got stuck in survival mode because it was the only way I felt a sense of safety. Now, a grenade is a weapon that can be triggered very easily by removing something very small. And being around people who have a difficult time regulating their emotions is much like being around a grenade. And the pin in the grenade represents the ways we try to protect ourselves, how we respond when we're triggered. And again, for a lot of us, this includes not speaking up when we're offended, when we're hurt, pretending like everything is okay, over-explaining ourselves, especially if this situation is directed to us and it seems that they are upset because of something that we've done or said or didn't do. We may make excuses like, I'm just stressed out right now. I'm sorry that I did that. And you're making an excuse for something that you probably didn't do. But because I want to speak about the masculine ego right now, because the masculine ego is afraid of accountability and responsibility because of the root fear of some form of punishment, usually established in childhood, we would try to fill that void. And so sometimes we would exhaust ourselves, defending ourselves, explaining, making excuses, trying to reason with them, basically contorting ourselves into whatever scenario is being projected on us to try to find peace. But it's just a band-aid and it's temporary. And so we became the pin, going back into the grenade. We became the hand that is going to hold the grenade to try to keep it from blowing up. However, on the new earth, one of the lessons that we're learning is that we are not responsible for the way other people respond, even if we were the trigger. It's not our responsibility to mold others' behaviors. And it does not benefit us to live this way. Right now, it would be wise to avoid certain conversations, especially if you know the energy underneath that is something that is unnecessary conflict and a reflection of being in this drama scenario. It's a trauma reenactment. Because when you involve yourself in the ways that I've mentioned, what you're doing is you're reactivating the old timeline that you have said that you're done with. Conversations are gateways to timelines. So choose your conversations wisely. Oftentimes, the person who is more emotionally mature, again, will try to hold this grenade. Because if it falls or if it gets in the wrong hands, and due to their unawareness, because a lot of times people don't really know the darkness that lives inside of them until they're triggered. And even then, it's hard to get them to see it. So you kind of have to let it go, wait till it blow over, and maybe they'll come to you later and say, I overreacted, or I didn't have to do that. Or maybe it's you that happens to. Like, it's no judgment in that. All of us develop these coping mechanisms and defense tactics when we feel like we're being threatened. And so the goal for this energy is to bring in compassion for ourselves. Whether you are the 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, or the one that represses your anger, neither of these is good for our health and well-being. And I believe the current mental health crises reflects that. A lot of women became emotional punching bags to unconscious, emotionally charged persons. And if you are empathic, this can almost cause you to feel like your bones are tired. And you only know what that means if you have felt that. So, if you are an empath, there are some things that you can do to help you to manage the current activations and tests that we are receiving collectively, to help you to avoid absorbing emotions from other people, because sometimes we absorb emotions and don't know it, and we don't know where we begin and where they end. And this exposes us to attracting people who will take advantage of that, people that don't know how to deal with their own stuff. And it's very subconscious and unconscious. They will look for people who will take on that energy for them. So spending some time in nature to replenish yourself, spending time alone, especially at your altar or your prayer closet or on your prayer rug, doing yoga, journaling, meditating. I know we've all heard this before on this journey, but it's one thing to hear it, and it's another thing to actually commit yourself to doing it. See, helping someone at the expense of our own sanity and well-being, that was the old Earth 3D Matrix program. And something called selfishness was put in place to cause us to feel like it was wrong for us to take care of ourselves first. And again, this is geared towards the woman. We were the ones who had all of this pressure to always hold everything together. So with this grenade effect, When you fill your cup up, when you spend time doing things that are going to strengthen you, increase your resilience, and help you to isolate what's yours and what's someone else's. And by doing these things, you're actually going to tether yourself to a new timeline. So if you've been having a hard time pulling yourself away from old habits that aren't serving you and replacing them with new habits, let the triggers be your motivation. If you use your triggers as a bridge to going within, using self-soothing techniques, checking in with yourself, you won't fear triggers as much. And you won't see triggers as something that is hindering you from being the best version of yourself, because triggers, this is the pro tip right here, triggers have now become the catalysts for your transformation. And with this Scorpio energy, your transformation is the main story. And you're writing the verses to the song your soul came to sing. We are no longer allowing other people to give us the hook to our song, to hook us into things that we know we do not want active in our lives. So let me give you a few things that you want to watch out for. One of those things would be trying too hard to gain approval by being overly agreeable. Disowning your negative emotions because you're afraid of being judged or do not trust yourself to handle them in a mature way. Maybe you avoid being direct about your needs and being assertive. Apologizing, oftentimes when it's not actually required. Using anger to get attention. Hiding your medical issues and fatigue so that you aren't seen as a burden. Overworking yourself and striving to overachieve. Dropping into a victim mindset. And this is oftentimes habitual, so you may not notice that you do this until you're actually doing it. And that's okay, because that's the purpose of awakening. You awaken to these states of being. And the last one would be ignoring your body, its need to rest. Making sure that you're not pushing yourself beyond physical limits to meet the pressure placed on you by others. So these are a few things that I feel like will be really helpful right now. We have a very powerful resin called benzoin, and this resin has blissed me so much. When I need to get a peace of mind, when I know I need to regulate my emotions, when I feel like I have absorbed someone else's energy, when I feel overwhelmed or I'm becoming hypercritical, when I notice myself dropping into some of those old earth ways of being, burning this incense restores my sense of peace and calmness. The first couple of years I used this during our ceremonies and petitions that we were doing for the collective. If you all have been with us for a while, you remember that. And this is oftentimes what we were using. And I cannot say enough about having this incense in your stash. Because not only does it help to regulate emotions and help you to return to the more harmonious way of being, thinking, and feeling, but if there is any negative energy, I find that this energy cannot be in the same space with this incense. And I believe a lot of that is connected to it being created by trees. Trees are very ancient nature spirits. And I talk to trees pretty much every day, and some of the most profound, compassionate, loving wisdom has come from them. So it makes sense that burning this resin would reconnect us to nature, reconnect us to our inner self. While this incense is burning and you're clearing out what doesn't serve, the sweetness of this incense aroma, it provides all of the benefits of aromatherapy, but it's also extremely inviting for goddesses, for road opening deities, for guardian angels, for connecting to the consciousness of your ancestors, your star tribes. It just really amazes me that within 24 hours of working with this incense, meta prayer, petitioning, using my affirmations, within 24 hours, someone reached out to me to give me some money because they felt like I had been such a positive inspiration in their life. And I wasn't looking for this. I was just committing myself every day to show up. And I felt like that first 24 hours, the universe was saying to me, that nature spirits were saying to me, my ancestors were saying to me, we hear you, and we're going to show up and support you. And this actually helped me to come out of procrastination, not trusting my spiritual work. Just because I'm doing these videos does not mean I'm immune to these things. Criticizing myself, being a perfectionist, being in a hurry to make things manifest. Like, this incense brought me into a state of surrender and ease. And I regained confidence because I was more deeply rooted, listen to the word, again connected to the ancient tree spirits, I was more deeply rooted in my sense of self and who I am. So no matter what you are dealing with, I believe within 24 hours of you using these tips with this resin, you can have similar effects and even something beyond what I experienced. And I'm going to be creating a very powerful meditation that I was inspired to write during this time, me communing with my spirit team. And I'm going to be sharing that very soon. It's pretty long, but I think that the length of it helps, because if we have these critical thoughts pretty often on loop in our mind, you want to neutralize that by having as many positive thoughts towards yourself as possible. So again, this is going to be geared towards healing feminine wounds with feminine energy. So the Sacred Sister Circle, of course, you guys get everything first. Everyone on Patreon, you get everything next. And then YouTube, you'll get the rest. So if you want to be on the inside and you want to get the exclusives, join Patreon so that you get access to this. And I'm going to post a portion of that on YouTube in case you are new and you've just found me. But let me tell you, with what I share with you today and what I've been doing, it's been nothing short of miraculous. And your subconscious reprogramming, your dreams, your ability to recall your dreams also increases with the use of this incense. So I am going to make sure that I put all of the links that you need right below in the description. And I hope that you take advantage of this, because you will only be this age, incarnated in this time, one time. And you are worth it. You are worth it. You are worth everything your heart desires. And the only thing that is required is for you to love yourself in ways that you have not loved yourself before, to experience profound transformation this season. Namaste, Numise. One love, Ashe. Y'all know we've been kissing third eyes since day one. Peace.